We at the Builders Association endorsed the 2030 3 years ago as an association, and I am proud to say I think we were the first association, at least that I know of in the country, that has endorsed it, and that is now the city's intent to meet the goal of 2030.
Excellent. Yeah, really cool. I think it's so great that everybody's coming on board now. You know, I know people feel good when they just recycle a couple of bottles, you know. But I don't think people have a clue what's coming out of their house. They just go in their house, it's a place where they eat and they sleep and they turn their heat on and that's that. You know, I don't think they really have a clue about what's being emitted from their house. So I think it's really great that people are being educated. So I understand also that this educational outreach is a real passion of yours. So tell me a little bit about how that's come to pass.
Well, when I got really impassioned with all of this about 3-4 years ago, I started writing about it. I started speaking about it. I called on my, many decades of experience living in sustainable community and being around green building. So it was a natural for me to start getting the word out and getting people aware of what was happening and what the need was in that regard. So along with the writing and speaking, I started teaching classes at the Santa Fe Community College, Green Building for builders and for the public. So the education is the key to all of this. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are unaware of the need, unaware of the current and upcoming mandates and codes, and how to fulfill those mandates and codes. So education is the key to it. Builders as well as the public have been somewhat clueless and are reluctant to change. So I've been kind of motivating them, and I had 25 builders in my class at the college this past year, and there is a lot of interest now, especially that they know if they're going to get a certificate of occupancy when they finish their project, then they better be up to speed. And of course, there's now a national thrust towards green and energy efficiency with our new leadership in Washington as well.
Yeah, so it's all about net zero energy. So I'd like you to say a little bit about that. What does that really mean, net zero energy?
Well, it's a grid-tied system, so the house is connected to the grid, but it has a very large photovoltaic solar electric system that's producing renewable energy on site, and generally we're producing more energy than we're using. My business partner Maxine loves to run down to the curb and watch the meter spin backwards. That's like one of her favorite endeavors, and she even jots down the numbers because those numbers are moving backwards too. So the net zero part of this is it's averaged over the course of the year. Obviously there are times where you're going to be making more than you're using, and then in the winter and when we don't have a lot of sun or at night, of course, you're going to be using more than you're making. So the goal is to net it out at zero, averaged over the course of the year.
Excellent. It sounds like you've done that.
The issue though is conservation and who's going to ultimately be living in the house. You could build a beautiful net zero energy home, and then if the occupants are not conscious of how they use energy or how they use the home in general, if you have 5 teenagers taking showers twice a day and leaving the lights on and windows open in the winter, then you're no longer net zero. So one of the categories in the New City program and in green building in general is homeowner education. So, and then the thrust towards conservation is a big part of it, and then learning how to use the systems and maintain them correctly as well. Well, one of the things that inspired me, there was a home built here last year that was completed a year ago, September, and it's 20,000 square feet and it has $11,000 a month utility bill. So, the answer to that inquiry is, well, they can afford it, so what the heck? Right. But it's not just the money, it's the carbon footprint of that house. The carbon footprint of that house, and it may be just a small family living in 20,000 square feet, but beyond that, the carbon footprint is probably that of a small village. So you get the idea that it's not just a matter of what you can get away with or what you can afford. Where's the consciousness here, and how are you affecting the bigger picture?
Farren, where is your interest in helping to create policy? Where is that taking you now?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I've been involved politically. I've worked with the city, I've worked with the state. I was on the State Green Codes Committee in 2007 and helped enact the new green codes that got passed for the state. So from there, with my work with education and energy conservation, I got involved with the Alliance to Save Energy, which is a national nonprofit that's really pushing national mandates towards energy efficiency. So I went last fall to Minneapolis for a national energy codes convention. There was 1,500 code officials from around the country, and we needed a 2/3 majority to pass what they called the 30% solution, which was going to be a national energy saving code of 30% better than what is typically done right now and how homes are being built. There was a lot of pushback from big business and the National Association of Home Builders, who are kind of married to the old paradigm. Even though I'm a local president, I sit on the other side of the aisle and we debate. Actually, we lost by 5 votes passing this thing, 2/3 majority. But they're saying that we broke new ground and it'll definitely pass at the next session.
So 5 votes out of 1,500 people, yeah, that's really, God, I've got goosebumps just thinking. I mean, that's really exciting. That's really big.
It was big, and then in June, this past June, I was brought back to Washington, D.C. to represent the building industry at a national news conference where we announced the Building Energy Efficiency Code Coalition, or Beacon. And this now, you know, in the past when you talked about these kinds of things, the people involved were nonprofits, environmental organizations, you know, sort of fringe builders, tree huggers, what have you. And now things are moving very rapidly in the right direction. This Beacon, which is a coalition of large business, industry, huge nonprofits, and builders, not the NAHB unfortunately, but those of us who are leading the charge, are all on board to get these mandates in place. We've shown here in New Mexico how it can be done, not only in a high-end home like the Emerald Home, which is net zero, but a Habitat for Humanity homes and affordable housing here in Santa Fe that have come in with scores of HERS 50s, which are half the energy usage of a typical code-built U.S. home. So it's not just a matter of a lot of money here, it's a matter of education and how to do things right.
Tell us a little bit about how this whole Emerald House, the Emerald Home, how did that get launched?
Well, I was toting the vision for many years, as I mentioned, and was not in the financial position personally to take on a huge project like this myself in terms of the financial end. So it wasn't until I met my financial partner, Maxine Suissa, who shared the vision, believed in me, believed in the concept, and believed in the future of custom home building. And you know, she put up her funds and leveraged a bunch of stuff, and we crawled around in the bush for about 6 months looking at lots and trying to find the one with the greatest view. And then of course the design of the Emerald Home was site specific, so we couldn't really start designing until we knew where we were going to be building.
It's on a beautiful lot. It's really in a beautiful area. What's the name of that area?
It's the Monte Sereno subdivision just south of the Santa Fe Opera. It's in the city limits, interestingly. I thought it was in Tesuque forever. I lived in Tesuque for many years. But because it's on the west side of the 285 and south of the Opera, it is in the city limits. Yeah, and it has magnificent views of the St. Rita de Christos.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
really
5 minutes
beautiful.
to town, that's kind of why we picked the location. You know, it's a great